Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ummi Nurhasanah with ID number A12121067 and I'm from class B. Alright, in this video, I'm going to explain the answers from question number 1 until 6 on ebook in page 38 until 39. For the question number 1, my answer is there are example sentences demonstrating the synonyms use of soundless, silent, and noiseless along with a pattern of entailments. The first example of sentences is the soundless forest enveloped us in its tranquil embrace. If the forest is soundless, then it is also silent and noiseless. And the second sentence is they communicated through a series of silent gestures, conveying their thoughts without words. If their gestures are silent, then their communication is also soundless and noiseless. And the third sentence is the noiseless machinery hummed softly in the background. If the machinery is noiseless, then it is also soundless and silent. And the next is, for question number 2, my answer is yes. Awake and asleep are indeed complementary terms. They represent opposite states of consciousness. When someone is awake, they are conscious and alert, while when someone is asleep, they are unconscious and not alert. Half awake, half asleep, and dozy can be included in an account of the meanings of awake and asleep as follows. The first is half awake. Half awake. This term describes a state where someone is partially conscious but not fully alert. They may be in a transitional state between being fully awake and asleep. For example, someone who is half awake may be groggy upon waking up in the morning or may be drowsy before falling asleep at night. And the second is half asleep. Half asleep, similar to half awake. Half asleep refers to a state where someone is partially unconscious but not fully asleep, experiencing a state of drowsiness or light sleep. For instance, someone who is half asleep might be easily roused by noise or movement. And the next is dozy. This term describes a state of drowsiness or sleepiness where someone is not fully awake but not fully asleep either. They may feel lethargic or sluggish. For example, someone who is dozy might struggle to concentrate or feel the need to rest even though they are not fully asleep. Including these terms in the account of awake and asleep helps capture the nuances of consciousness and the various transitional states between being fully awake and fully asleep. And the next is for question number 3. My answer is the relevant meaning difference between the two columns lies in the intensity or degree of the adjective being modified by quiet. In the first column, where quiet is a down turn, it moderates the adjective to convey a sense of moderation or partiality. For example, quite clever would mean moderately clever. Quite late would mean moderately late. Quite small would mean moderately small, and quite unusual would mean moderately unusual. Her quiet is used to one down the intensity of the adjective, suggesting that the quality described is present but not to an extreme degree. In contrast, in the second column, where quite is a maximizer, it intensifies the adjective to convey a sense of completeness or extremity. For example, quite right would mean absolutely right. Quite finished would mean completely finished. And quite impossible would mean entirely impossible. And quite alone would mean entirely alone. Here, quite is used to emphasize the extremity or completeness of the quality described by the adjective, suggesting that there is no room for doubt or moderation. Therefore, the relevant meaning difference between the two columns is the degree of intensity conveyed by quite when modifying the adjectives. In one case, it moderates or tones down the adjective, while in the other case, it intensifies or maximizes it. And the next is, for question number 4, my answer is, the first half of the class should research Roget's thesaurus, focusing on its organizational structure, particularly how synonyms and opposites are categorized. The other half should find synonym dictionaries, also known as synonym fingers, and prepare to describe their structure and provide examples. And for question number 5, my answer is, how adjective is or was X? Question might be biased with the adjective old and weak because they carry negative connotation. Asking how old is or was X might imply that being old is bad, while how weak is or was X might suggest that being weak is not good. The other adjectives like young, strong, miserable, pleasant, unpalatable, and tasty could also lead to bias question depending on the situation. For example, asking how miserable is or was X might imply that X is always unhappy, while how pleasant is or was X. Similarly, asking how unpalatable is or was X might imply that X is always unpleasant, while how tasty is or was X might imply that X is always delicious. It all depends on how these questions are asked and the context they are asked in. And for question number 6, my answer is, an intersective account of modification means the words directly combine to give a specific meaning. Royal visitor and royal correspondent work because royal directly describe the type of visitor or correspondent. Similarly, heavy eater works because heavy directly describe the nature of the eater. However, wise fool doesn't fit this pattern because wise and fool have opposite meanings and don't directly combine to give a clear meaning. Alright, that's all my answer from this question. I do apologize if I have mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.